Good morning. Welcome to the Getting Started with TradeStation class. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. And today we're going to talk about OptionStation Pro and the things you can do in there to trade option spreads, and do some analysis on options risk-reward position graphs. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to be here and talk a little bit about our technology. If you have any questions about the TradeStation platforms, please use this opportunity to submit those questions right there in the chat. I have the chat window right here opened to my side, and I'm going to be glancing at it once in a while to see that I address all the questions that your guys are submitting. As I said before, today we're going to do OptionStation Pro. Let's go through some disclosures before we get this class started. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about in this presentation is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and that past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. For additional information on these disclosures, visit www.tradestation.com/important-information. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to my TradeStation platform. Right. And this is the TradeStation desktop. OptionStation Pro is incorporated into the TradeStation desktop. If you've been with TradeStation some time, you already know that we offer multiple platforms on which you can trade. In fact, you can trade options on web trading, you can trade options on your mobile device, and you can also trade options, of course, on the desktop. But the desktop is the only one that has OptionStation Pro. This is like a dedicated exclusive platform that exists on the desktop. So even though you can trade options on mobile and you can trade options on web trading, all the advanced features that you have available on OptionStation Pro are going to be missing on those two other platforms. So if you are serious about trading options, then OptionStation Pro is a tool that's going to have all the tools necessary to assist you in trading options. Of course, at a given moment, if you are on the road, if you're doing groceries, or you're traveling and you need to pull up your mobile device to see what your option trades are doing and maybe do some modifications on trades that you've placed, I mean, those are great tools to do that. So complementing each other is the way that we should use the TradeStation technology, so that if you're not able to look at your positions on your TradeStation desktop, you can still have other platforms to make sure that you keep an eye on your positions and your orders. Okay. This is a chart of Coca-Cola that I'm looking at here on the screen. OptionStation Pro is going to be in the apps menu. So find OptionStation Pro in here. I believe the applications are going to be sorted in alphabetical order. So here's my OptionStation Pro, and it should load on Coca-Cola. To a certain extent, if I was looking at Coca-Cola on my TradeStation desktop and I jump over to OptionStation Pro, it's probably, in my mind, I thought I would be trading options on Coca-Cola, but it's fine. Changing the symbol in OptionStation Pro, it's very easy. Right here on the top left corner, you see SPY, and I can just type in the symbol that I want. So if I type in KO, typing letters into the search field, typing letters into the symbol box at the top left corner of OptionStation Pro runs a search. So notice that I typed in KO, and I get a whole list of items or optionable symbols that have the letters KO, not only as part of the ticker symbol, but also as part of the description. So in here, Coca-Cola does not have the letters KO in the description, but it has it on the ticker symbol. But notice here we have the Kodiak Sciences that has KO in the ticker symbol. It also has KO in the description. So every time you type in something, the search results very nicely will highlight where KO, in this case, because I type in KO, shows up on every other ticker symbol or any other description, allowing you to select from the list. So if it's a ticker symbol that I know for sure that exists, I can just type it in and hit enter very quickly. A lot of times, if you don't know the ticker symbol, you may want to type in the name of the corporation or the name of the index, and OptionStation Pro will give you the results. So I can click on Coca-Cola from the list, or I can just hit enter, and that'll load that information into my OptionStation Pro. One thing to keep in mind also here in OptionStation Pro is that it will always open on the last tab that you were looking at. If you look at the bottom left of my OptionStation Pro, where my cursor is, OptionStation Pro is divided into 4 main tabs. And you can see that the one that is in blue, it's Manage. When I shut down my OptionStation Pro last time, I was looking at my Manage tab, and that's why when I opened it up today, it took me to the Manage tab. But don't get lost in OptionStation Pro. Always look at the bottom, because I suppose that if you're new to OptionStation Pro, I mean, you are expecting to see an option chain. But many times, depending on how you left OptionStation Pro the last time, that's exactly the way that it's going to come up. So if I want to see a chain for Coca-Cola, all I need to do is come here and click on Options, and then I see the chain. The options for Coca-Cola are going to be grouped by expiration. You can see that some of my expirations have a qualifier. They have weekly, quarterly. Some of them don't have anything. In fact, they're shaded with a lighter shade of gray. Those are the monthly ones. So the ones that don't say anything and the ones that have a lighter shade of gray, those are the monthly options, monthly expirations, but you also have the weeklies and the quarterlies. If you want to concentrate on any particular type of option, you have a filter up here that allows you to select the expiration types. Right now, I have everything selected, so that's why I see everything. But if you just trade weeklies or just trade monthlies, you can filter your option chain so it doesn't show you things that you're not trading, and it'll simplify the view a little bit for you. On the expiration here on the left-hand side, you see the specific date, month, and year that the options group expires. It also tells you the number of days remaining until the expiration of that group. So you can see this monthly group right here that I'm pointing with my cursor. There's 37 days until expiration because it expires on April 19th of this year, 2024. I can open up those options by clicking on this little button on the left-hand side, and I see the chain. If the strikes that you see here are not enough for the type of trading that you're doing, maybe you're trading some deep in the money or some deep out of the money options and you're not seeing it right here reflected, you can always increase the number of strikes and say, I want to do all the strikes. We didn't have that many more strikes for Coca-Cola here, but you get the idea. And if you want to have more strikes on one side than the other, maybe because maybe you're trading calls and you're concentrating on the call side only and you don't want to see the in the money puts here, what you can do is come here to the filter and say, okay, I want to see all the strikes on the left hand side. I think the left hand side is going to be the call, and on my put side I just want to see 4. Let's see. Let me apply. There we go. So now you see how it's showing you more strikes on the call side than it shows on the put side, which sometimes, depending on which direction you're trading, you may want to filter your options this way as well. But, very quickly, just come here and say, I want to see 20, and it puts, 10 strikes on either side of the current trading price of the underlying. Coca-Cola is currently trading at $60.92. We can see the price up here. Even though I am connected to a simulator, and you can see my account here starts with letters SIM. This is a simulated trading account. The data that I'm getting is real data. So Coca-Cola, the $60.91 is real-time data that's coming through the exchanges, and I can see what it's trading at. The same applies to the options here. The options will give you real-time data that's coming directly from the options exchanges. Let me go ahead and collapse April and open up May. And we see a similar sequence of options there. Let me go ahead and change the symbol here. I'm going to change the symbol to SPY, SPY. All right, and these are the ones that are expiring March 14th. These are the monthly options. March 14th is tomorrow, right? I wonder, these are the monthly options. I would have expected these to expire on Friday. Oh, we have two monthly expirations. This is interesting. We have the 15 March. So this is the one that expires on Friday. There's 2 days to expiration. Let me go ahead and collapse that. Let me open up the monthlies for April. Here we go. Let me collapse the May one so I don't get confused. I can do two things in OptionStation Pro. I can analyze positions or I can trade them. What controls the result of your clicking is this little drop down up here. I'm not sure what the default is when you first open up OptionStation Pro. If I'm not mistaken, I think the default is Analyze Trade. This is if you are in analysis mode, you still don't want to trade, but you want to analyze your positions. You want to do it in an Analyze Trade. What this does, anytime you click on a bid or an ask, it'll send that as a trade, but into the Analysis tab. Let me click on this call with a strike of 516, trading at $8.90. Let me go ahead and click it. And as soon as I do that, notice that I'm switched over to the Analysis tab, allowing me to see a graph of that position. Pretty cool, huh? Now, this allows me to do some analysis on this single call. Let me go ahead and reset my view here to the way that it comes on by default. But the call that I clicked on is visible right here at the bottom. You can see that this is a buy, one, spider, and we have the expiration here, the 19th of April. This is my strike and a call. Over here on the top, I see the performance or the profit and loss representation, graphical representation of the profit and loss for that options position. P&L right here on the left-hand side, and you have the prices of the underlying right here at the bottom. Clicking on add right here under price slices will add a vertical line, and it'll attach that vertical line, which is that yellow line that showed up here in my graph, to the last. Notice that there's a little box here that says pinned, and it's going to pin it to the last. And as the price of spider moves up and down, the line here will shift, and it'll continuously be at the current price. This is really cool because it tells you, or it allows you to see what the theoretical P&L would be for this position right now. The plot, as you can see right here, is set to now. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with graphing here, but by default, the graph is going to be set to the expiration plus 1 day. It'll look like this. You'll have a white line and a cyan line. In my TradeStation or OptionStation Pro, I'm not sure if these are the default colors, but you can change the colors if you need to. But expiration plus 1 day just means that you're going to see the theoretical P&L of the option at expiration plus an additional day. That additional day right now, if I look over here on the right, the blue line is set to April 19th, which is expiration. So the blue is expiration and the white is right now. So you can see the theoretical P&L of your position right now, according to the price of that vertical slice. So if spider were to remain at 516 right now, my theoretical P&L is, right now it's negative 0.02. It fluctuates, it's right there on the zero line, goes up and down. It's just moving slowly at the moment. But if I want to see what my value would be at expiration, this expires, I don't know, it expires April 19th right here. I just have to switch the plot here to plot number 2, which is my blue line. And then I can see the value at expiration, $842 if, or 841. Notice how it's updating in real time because the price is moving. This is only telling me that if spider were to remain at 516, when the option expires on April 19th, I would have a loss of $849. This is a negative number. Does that make sense? Notice how we have right here, also right here at the bottom where my position is, you have two calculations. You have the maximum loss, which is $867. Our theoretical P&L here is very close to our maximum loss. We're not going to lose more than 800 or whatever the value is here, because all we're losing is the premium. Now, the price that you see here, the 869, the maximum loss is based on the price of the option. Every contract represents 100 shares. So based on this price, if it's 870, it'll be $870 a year maximum loss. And you can see that it fluctuates in real time as well. As long as you have that little check mark checked right next to the price of the option, let me go back in there. It'll update in real time based on the price of the option. If you click on the little check mark, notice how it changes. And now the price here is fixed, because maybe you're planning on entering this option when it trades at $8.50. If that's the case, if you send a limit order to get filled at $8.50, then your maximum loss would be $850. And it's a fixed loss because you have a fixed price. If you want to go back to a real-time update, just click on the little X. Then the little price here updates in real time based on the price of that call. And then the maximum loss here will, of course, update accordingly. Take a look at the maximum profit here. We have the infinity sign. So yes, there is potential for the price of Spider to go up indefinitely. And that's why you have this angle on this little line showing you the graphical representation of infinite. But again, it all depends on the movement of Spider. So let's create a hypothetical scenario. Rather than pinning my price here to the last price, I'm going to change the price. Let's say that I have a target that Spider will go to $550. If I change the price here in the price box, notice how the theoretical P&L changes, and now I can see that it's about 2,520, and it changes because the price of Spider is moving as we speak. But if, actually not the price of Spider, the price of the option here moves. If I set it to a fixed price, if I set it to a fixed price, you can see how the theoretical P&L doesn't move anymore, because this is calculated based on your entry price. But as long as I have this checked, and it updates in real time, then of course that's going to affect my theoretical P&L. What this is telling me is that if my assumptions that Spider would reach a target of $550 or $550, in theory, I would make about $2,500, only if Spider came up to $550. Now, based on the probability of movement, that's something that I also wanted to talk about today, because this big box of gray that you see here inside this graph, it's probability of movement based on historical volatility of Spider. Historical volatility is up here. If you see historical volatility right now, it's at 12.99%. The 12.99% is based on a 30-day historical volatility. You can change the look back period for this historical volatility by going over here to settings. Let me show you where that is done. Go to settings. I'm going to go here to the graphs. Not the graphs, I'm sorry. Go to common. In common here, you have the historical volatility bars back. If I change the bars back to, and I want you to take a look at, because I want to see if this affects my shade here, the gray shade. I'm going to go back 120 days. If I click OK to this, or close, let me see. My historical volatility did not change, unless, historical volatility hasn't changed much in the last 120 days. That is a possibility. Didn't change at all. Let me go back in there. Common. Let's go back here to 30. And see, it did change right here. Yeah, slightly changed. It went from 1209 to 1299. So we may not see a big effect here on on this particular graph. So let's do something. Let's do a 10-day historical volatility. You see, you don't have to click on close for it to affect the volatility here. I think it does it automatically once I click away from the little box. Still at 12.99. If I do 60 days, you can see the historical volatility did change to 11.37. So it does affect the historical volatility calculation immediately. Let me go ahead and click on close. So this cone of probability is based on what is expected, from spiders to do, based on what it's done in the past. How likely is it for spider to move either way? And you can see that if you're targeting a price of 550, you're right at the edge of that probability cone. The farther you move away from the current trading price, of course, the chances get slimmer that the price will reach that point, right? Here, my graph is set to 2 standard deviations. Now, you can increase that if you like, but 2 standard deviations is a 95% probability that the price of spider will be within the cone. Does that make sense? Now, you can increase or decrease the standard deviations here. This is 1 standard deviation. This is a 68% probability that the graph will be on either side. Does that make sense? All right. So this is 2 standard deviations. A lot of times, if you're setting stop losses or profit targets, it's always a good idea to look at the probability of movement to see if you're within the probability that the security that you're trading is going to move within that area. Okay, let me go ahead and bring in another call. I'm going to go here to options. The one that I clicked on was the 516. Let me go ahead and bring in the 520. I'm just going to click on this bid price. Remember that if you click on the ask price, it'll be a long, and if you click on the bid price, it'll be a short. Now look at my analysis section here. I have 2 singles. They're both listed and checked right here on the left-hand side. I can uncheck my short leg and notice that I'm back on the graph that I was looking at before. But you have the ability to check both legs, and now it combines the two into what's called a vertical. This is a vertical, and you can see the graph changes immediately. Now we don't have that maximum profit that we had by just trading the single call. The single call has the maximum profit, and the short has the maximum loss. When you combine them, there is a limited profit and there is a limited loss based on this combination. Now, you don't see that combined here, and I cannot drag them and combine them in here. But if I wanted to analyze this as a vertical, let me show you how I can do that. Let me go ahead and click on this little button on the right-hand side. I'm going to delete all my simulations. This is going to delete all the information that I added here to the bottom of the analysis. I'm going to come here to options. And instead of leaving it on analyze trade, I'm going to click here on trade. That way I can click on the ask price of the 516, and I get the visual that has been highlighted in blue. I hold down the control key. Holding down the control key allows you to select multiple legs on the same trade. So I'm holding down the control key, and I'm going to click on the bid price of this 520. There we go. Now the 2 legs are down here on the trade bar. And if I'm not ready to trade them, so I'm not going to place the order here, I can click on analyze from the trade bar, and it'll send me back here into my analysis tab. Now, the difference here is that if you look at the bottom, now I'm looking at a vertical. I'm not looking at 2 individual legs that I've combined. And if you look at this vertical, then we have a maximum profit and we have a maximum loss. The price of this vertical changed drastically. If you remember, buying the call outright, I believe the price was about $800. It was $8 and something. But by combining this with a short leg, and creating a vertical, then I'm reducing the cost here. I'm limiting my potential profit, but it's fine because I'm also limiting my potential loss. And I can see that graph right here. So that flat line that you see here, this is my loss. It's on the negative side. This is the 0 line. And then over here at the top, I see my maximum gain. But again, all the functionality that we talked about can be used here as well. If you go to the pinned little drop down, you can also create set scenarios. We have scenarios calculated at percent movement, excuse me, meaning that if an underline were to move these percentages, like -5 or +5, you get the theoretical value on those movements. For example, let me go here, -5 +5. This is right now. Notice that when you do that, it creates 3 yellow vertical lines. By the way, the yellow lines can be clicked and dragged. But this is pinned to a +5 and a -5% movement on the underline. So those are calculated values by those vertical lines, and it tells you what your theoretical P&L would be. So if Spider were to go up 5%, I would make $155. If it drops 5%, I would lose 182, but this is right now. If you want to go to expiration, you set it to plot 2, and then you get your calculated values. Now, maybe you don't want to wait until expiration. Maybe you want to wait and hold this position until, let's say, the end of March. This expires on April 19th. Your plan is to get out of this position by the end of March. What would be the valuation of this vertical at the end of March? That's something that you can calculate right here from within OptionStation Pro. I can go over here to my little gear on the top right, go to my graph, and I can say, well, before I do this, notice that plot 3 is grayed out, so I'm not able to modify it. So before I modify this, I need to enable plot 3. And you do that by going here and saying, I want the expiration plus 2 days. So that adds a third line because now you have expiration, which is the cyan, and you have the 2 additional days. We already know that the white is now, and I'm going to adjust the green line. Notice how the green line right now is set to April 8th. I'm going to set the green line to be March 30th and see what the valuation of my option would be. I'm going to go here to the gear, go to my graph, go here to where my green line, and I have this slider that I can push left or right. I want you to notice something. Take a look at the line and what happens when I slide this left and right. You see how it affects the line? Because you are changing the time frame. In fact, also look up here at the date, April 8th. And if I push it to the left, I can see that it's now in March. So it's literally changing the date of that little line. I'm gonna drag it until I see March 31st up here. I'm not sure if March 31st is a trading day. I'm going to assume that it is. So I'm gonna set it to March 31st and then click on close. And now I can click here on my slices and say, I want to see the valuation on plot number 3, which is March 31st. Days to expiration 19. And you can see that if Spider were to be at any of these prices, this would be your theoretical P&L. Of course, you can adjust those numbers if you want to and say, what would happen if Spiders were to drop to 475 or maybe go up to 575? You can put in a fixed price on those two, and you can see that you can see the valuation of those two right here on the graph. Still not expiration. Notice that my loss is not the maximum loss, and my gain is not the maximum gain because there's still some time remaining on that option. There's still 19 days to expiration. It's only if I switch this to expiration, which is plot number 2, that you can see that it realizes the maximum loss and it realizes the maximum gain. So those are the type of things that I like doing in OptionStation Pro, especially if I'm analyzing a trade and I want to put it on my OptionStation Pro. Once you're ready to trade this, all you need to do is right click on the simulation that you have right there at the bottom, and you can trade it. This is my trade. You can modify the price if you want to. Natural would be whatever the options are trading at the moment. So it'll take, the price of the call that you're buying and the price of the call that you're selling, combine them, and that's going to be a real-time natural price. Mid, it's just going to take the midpoint between the bid and the ask of each one of the legs and add them together. To increase the likelihood of getting filled, you would go with natural because that's what the price is. That's what the options are being quoted at the moment. Of course, the mid provides you a better price because you're right at the midpoint, but buyers and sellers may not be ready to provide those prices that you want at the midpoint. And in fact, I mean, I can even go to a better price and say, well, I want to buy the vertical, but only if it's trading at $2.10. Of course, that's a far better price, but then my order could just sit there and not get filled at all because there's no traders wanting to sell or buy at the prices that I want. So natural pricing, 217, I can click on the button and it automatically fills in the price. And then I can just say, place the order.
Order filled.
You probably heard my computer say order filled. So notice how the simulation remains. Not only the simulation remains, but I show something here at the very top. Do you guys see that it shows two legs, two singles? That's my filled order. One of the nice things about the analysis tab is that it combines simulations or simulated positions that you've created, and it also brings in things that are real. If you get filled on any leg or any spread, it'll show up here. You can see the difference in color. The ones that have a background color, those are simulated positions. And the ones that have a dark background with colored letters, those are the real positions. But this allows you to combine, simulated positions with real positions and see how the P&L graph changes. Let me show you what I can do here on the Manage tab. On the Manage tab, I'm going to see a section right here at the very top. This section will give me information on the orders that I'm sending. I'm not sure why my columns are all squished like this, but you can see the column headers and information about the orders that I submitted. Depending on the orders that are running on your OptionStation Pro, you'll see different categories. I only have filled. I haven't canceled, or I don't have any open orders, so they would be grouped in separate headers, easy to identify. But here at the bottom, I see positions, and I not only see positions for SPY. See SPY right here. This is the one that I just traded right now. I also see, HPE, and I see Tesla, and I see X. Because one of the things that OptionStation Pro does is that it looks at your equities account and shows you here everything that you own. Maybe you want to manage your equities positions with options, or maybe you want to look at options from other underlines and you see them all here inside of this position span. So even though Spider is a symbol that is loaded right here at the top, I'm still able to see all my equity positions. Put and close X, Tesla, and HPE. These two legs, I traded them as a vertical. However, they returned to me as individual legs. But very quickly, I can click and drag one of those legs and drop them on top of the other, and then it'll combine them together into a vertical, or keep them separate. It's up to you. So you have full control over what you want to do with those legs. See, right now they're separated, and each one of them has a separate P&L number. Each one of them has a price. But if I want to combine them, click on either one, doesn't matter which one you click on, and drop it on top of the other. And notice that I'm combining them. I have the ability to click on the plus on the left, expand the view, and I can see each one of the legs. But the nice thing about combining them is that I'm able to see the price of the combined vertical and the maximum loss and the maximum profit on the combined vertical. This also allows me to set profit targets and stop losses on this vertical. If I right click and I say close this position, in closing this position, you would get a credit. So for a profit target, if you say, well, close this position if it reaches a value of $4, you can say, if it reaches a price of $4 credit, then I want to get out. This is a limit order. I'm going to say place the order. And there we go. Right here at the very top, you can see that vertical closing transaction if it reaches a credit of $4. So you can do that if you want to set a profit target on that position. If you want to do a stop loss, though, let me go right click here and cancel the order. Right click and just cancel. There we go. I'm going to right click on that position and say close this position. If the credit drops to $1, if you go in the opposite direction, even though it's still a credit, but you're losing value, so it's a loss. If it drops to a $1 credit between the two, then I want to set this as a stop market. Stop market order, I have to enter the price again. I always forget that I have to change the order type first before modifying the price. Not a big deal, but if you do it afterwards, then you have to enter the price one more time. And for this, notice that you can also change the duration. Be aware of the duration, because if you leave it on day, that order will be canceled at the end of the trading day. So if you want this stop or a profit target to be active on multiple trading sessions after today, make sure you change it to GTC, which stands for good till cancel. If I place that order and say yes, then that order will be up here under received, and you can see that this is a stop order if the price of the spread were to drop to a $1 credit. All right, those are the two ways in which you can manage any open position, setting a profit target or a stop loss, which I think it's very convenient. By the way, we're going to have a presentation on activation rules. We're going to do a whole OptionStation Pro session explaining how to do activation rules on options spreads. Activations are set on time and on price, and is a very interesting functionality for you to manage your options trades. Always look at the events page on TradeStation.com. I'm not sure if you know where that is, but TradeStation.com, go to the Learn section, and you're going to find a link to events. All right, I think that's my class for today. Are there any questions about any of the functionality that I've shown you? So here in the chain, we see the +1 and the -1 very nicely. This shows us, what we hold on each one of those rows. So very clearly, I can see that I have long one contract +1 on the 516, and I'm short one contract on the 520. Question, can you say anything about the other type of risk graph? Okay, Marcel, are you talking about these ones up here? These are graphs on the options Greeks, the delta, the theta, the gamma, vega, and rho. Oh, the 3D. Yeah, you can measure, all those Greeks here in a graph for each one of your positions. If it's a 3D, for sure, yeah, let's go to the theoretical P&L. The 3D is just the same graph on a 3D setting. So let me go here into this dropdown and select 3D. All right. So what's going on here, let me click, and you're able to click and drag. What's going on here is that it provides you a 3D representation of your risk reward profile. A lot of times, it makes a lot of sense when we're looking at an iron condor or something a little bit that is a little bit more sensitive to the time aspect. If you look at this graph, you have three axes. You have the price of the underlying right here. Then you have theoretical P&L on the left-hand side. And then you have, excuse me. And then you have time right here. Notice that now it's all the way at the back. I can click and drag this graph and turn it around so I can see now in the front. So you can see how the front has this curved line, which is really similar to that curved line that we see on the 2D graph. Let me switch this to 2D. We see a curved line, which is the theoretical valuation right now. And we see the flat line, which is expiration. And then we see a middle line somewhere in between. By switching over to the 3D, you get the exact same two lines. You see the round curved line, which is what the valuation is right now, but you also get this component of time that goes into expiration all the way to the back until it reaches that straight flat line. The green line that we saw and that we set to March 30th, it's somewhere in between. But that's just what the 3D graph is showing you. It's just all the different time aspect of an options valuation that is not reflected in a 2D line on a 2D graph. On a 2D graph, it's just a single line. If I were to add another vertical here, let me go here and let me do the 523 and the 526. I'm going to place this trade.
Order filled.
All right, let me go ahead and manage that. So I have my two verticals. I have my iron condor. Let me go to my analysis. Let me uncheck the vertical and check the iron condor. Okay, so take a look. Take a look at what happens right here. You can see that right now, my profitability, it's very narrow or very flat compared to what's happening here as it approaches expiration. Take a look at this iron condor. You can see how sensitive it is as it approaches expiration. We have those drastic, price changes as it approaches expiration. But you can see that the maximum profit that you can reach is right at expiration. Somewhere in between, yeah, you can reach some profits, but not as high in this particular case as they could be if you waited until expiration. Of course, if you wait until expiration, you also have this risk of reaching this, loss right here at the bottom. So the same way that, profits work in your favor as it approaches expiration because of sensitivity, they're also sensitive on the negative side, and you could risk, losing all that amount. But the nice thing about the 3D graph is that you get a better visual of how time plays a role into the sensitivity of the valuation of an options. To your question, Sharon, can you have a stop market together with a limit for the target? That's a good question. And let me go ahead and show you something that it's something that I'm also going to demonstrate on that next class that we just invited you to with the activation rules. But let me go ahead and cancel the stop that I had on that vertical. And here on my iron condor, I can say, let me close this position. Notice how the credit is 417. Now the valuation right here, is based on the 4 legs. It's a credit of $4.17. Now, I would have wanted to analyze this. Let me see. Let me remove. Okay, this is my iron condor. And the current trading price, let's go ahead and see. I'm just going to pin it to the last. The current trading price is right here, 516. So maybe the thing about this particular iron condor is that the potential profit is right in here in this cone. But if you say if the price of the underlying moves to 520, let me go ahead and do it here, 520. If I were to set a profit target at 520, it would actually be a loss right now. So you have a couple things to think about here. If I do a price activation at 520, so if you can set a price activation at 520, but that doesn't necessarily give you a profit right now. It actually would give you a loss. It would give you a profit at expiration. So for this particular example, maybe not a good idea to set a price activation on this position because it could be triggered at any moment of the position. Spider's trading at 516. If it goes to 520, if it goes to 520 closer to expiration, let's say that I go over here and I change my graph and I say right here, closer to expiration, April 10th. So on April 10th, I would have a P&L or a profit of $15. But the maximum profit, it's really close to expirations. This is one of those positions that would probably wait until a little bit closer to expiration to manage my position, But yeah, if you want to close a position, you can set it as a market order and set activation rules right here. You can set multiple activations rules based on price. So I can say SPY one more time, and I can add it twice. And if it's greater than, 520, get out. And if it drops below, 510, also get out. And you would just have to set this to OR because the price cannot be on both situations at the same time. But either one will trigger the order on a profit or a loss. So that's one of the things that I would do to manage a position with a profit target and a stop loss. Again, if you want to learn a little bit more about this functionality, make sure you register for my session upcoming, next, I think in the next couple of weeks. I look forward to seeing you there. I appreciate your time, and I hope everyone here has a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for joining me today. Bye-bye.